So many events going on, and of course, we're dealing with this heat, but not just the heat, the gusty winds from these dying thunderstorms as well. I'm Weather Impact Team Meteorologist Jaden Knowles, and thank you so much for joining in. Let's go ahead and talk about what's going on so far outside. Here's our headlines, though, what we're tracking. The isolated storms, once again, another round of it. This time a little bit more isolated in nature, mainly for the eastern plains across the state. But we are seeing a couple of pop-up thunderstorms here in the metro area, and they are dying storms, which means microbursts. So we could see even some more gusty winds, but the main weather story as we head into tomorrow is that weather impact alert for the heat. We're talking about triple-digit heat making its way across the state as we head into tomorrow and really the next couple of days as we're dealing with this heat wave. So far, current temperature is 93 degrees. It was just 94. The temperature is kind of fluctuating a little bit because of that increase in cloud coverage. We should see 95 today as the high, and once again, we are tracking those isolated gusty winds like we just saw near Littleton just about an hour ago. So today marks 16 days in the 90s, and yes, on average, the 30-year average, I should say, is 46 days, and we're on track to see that once again this year. Here's your highs across the state for this afternoon. The upper 90s for the eastern plains. You can see 96 in Fort Morgan, 93 over in Sterling, 96 in Fort Collins, 95 here in Denver, and then of course the western slope, triple digits, 101 in Grand Junction. So a very warm day all across. But here's what we're tracking so far. You can see that uptick in showers and thunderstorms, mainly kind of towards Lyman along the I-70 corridor and A-Gate. You can see there's some heavy downpours of rain there. That's going to be something to watch maybe the next couple of hours as it tracks towards the east. May see some severe thunderstorms with that cell there. There's a cell over Colorado Springs, just heavy downpours of rain. But once again, about an hour ago near Highlands Ranch and also parts of Littleton and Ken Carl, that you can see that this is a 2-hour loop here. There was a thunderstorm that was dying kind of near Ken Carl, and that's the reason for that 57-mile-per-hour wind gust that knocked down a couple of power lines and knocked over a couple of trees. Once again, that's what we were forecasting for again for this afternoon into the evening hours from these dying thunderstorms. It's just so warm here at the surface. Further up towards the north a little bit, you can see some isolated showers there. Nothing severe across the state, but what we're really tracking is these dying thunderstorms. And here's the current gusts across the region. I mean, it's a little gusty towards the foothills, but once again, about an hour ago, that's where we saw in Ken Carl at C470, 57-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That's the reason for the down power lines and of course the tree lines, the trees that are down so far now. Once again, is because of that gust, that dying thunderstorm. So overall, as far as your severe thunderstorm risk goes for this afternoon, we're talking about that level 1 risk for the eastern plains. You can see some hail, gusty winds, especially here in the metro. So here is your timeline for possibility of storms activity and moving into your area. You can see by 4:30 that cell that we just saw kind of near Lyman will continue to track towards the east near Kit Carson and parts of Burlington, and those could become severe, but then we should see these storms start to fizzle out as we head into the evening hours, maybe really after 7 p.m. As far as the front range and part of the foothills, you can see by 2 p.m. we're seeing that uptick in spotty showers and thunderstorms. They're very isolated in nature. Winter Park, you can see maybe a cell over you by 4 p.m. But what we're really watching for are those brief gusty winds from those dying storms. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Chris did a great job of explaining this morning, and we also touched on it in our noon show. So this is what we just saw here near Littleton. Was that thunderstorm that was dying, basically. So it's called a microburst. And now when you have hot temperatures like we see today and what we're expecting tomorrow and the next day after that, the upper 90s, the low triple digits, you got these thunderstorms that just can't really grow and sustain life because it's just so hot. It's dry from the surface all the way towards the top. But it is raining. The rain ends up evaporating. It's trying to cool itself off, kind of as if you sweat. When your body sweats, it tries to cool off yourself as well. But looking at your rain trying to evaporate, it produces this gusty downpour of winds, and that's what a microburst is. And so that's exactly what we just saw in Littleton. But overall, it's kind of the best explanation I have for this is if you take a glass of water and pour it on a table and it splatters all the way out. That's exactly what happens with the winds. So that's something to just keep in mind as these storms. If you see some dark clouds over you, you could see a dying thunderstorm and all of a sudden see the gusty winds there. As far as the rest of our weather pattern for the rest of the week, we are talking about hot temperatures, and that's the reason for the weather impact alert for tomorrow. That high pressure, that ridge of high pressure is really building in across the state, and that will give us the triple digits, or not even close, but very close to the triple digits. So once again, that's the heat advisory that is under effect, and that's the reason we're going with the weather impact alert for tomorrow and for those highs near 100 degrees, including the metro area. So right now, the forecast, the high is 99 degrees, and the record is 100 degrees. That was set back in 2022. And overall, we're talking about very close to breaking that record. I wouldn't be surprised if we do break that record. 7-day forecast, here it is. Of course, we're talking about the upper 90s the next 3 days. And then finally, some relief. As we head into Thursday evening, there will be a cold front. And that's going to give us some rain chances on Friday, cooler temperatures. And then the weekend looks very nice, actually. 86 degrees on Saturday, and then back to the 90s on Sunday, especially as we head into next week. Now, if you're just dreading the heat, you can't stand the heat, I have some good news. Are you ready for some snow? 102 days until Denver's average first measurable snow. That's usually on October 18th. So fingers crossed. I mean, I try to give people the best of both worlds here. Heat and cold, it's hot, it's summertime, but overall, just stay weather aware with these storms that we're going to see towards the eastern plains. We're already seeing an uptick in that towards Lyman. But overall, I hope everyone has a terrific day, and of course, stay weather aware.